So one thing I had a lot of people ask me about this week is they were interested in hearing my thoughts and advice about the right hand on classical guitar or fingerstyle guitar. So to tell you about that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of story time, how I got started playing the classical guitar, and along the way I'll show you kind of all the things I learned as I learned them that kind of helped take my fingerstyle technique to the next level. Okay, so I started playing classical guitar, the instrument itself, when I first learned how to play guitar. It's the only thing that I had. My father had a classical guitar in the corner of his room behind like an old speaker that was hooked up to a record player. And I just decided one day that I was going to start learning to play the guitar because he had it. I had been in band for a few months, um, been playing trumpet in the band. So I learned to read music, I learned to read the treble clef, and I could read rhythms, and I just had to figure out, well, okay, let's tune it up. And my father was a good enough player to where he could show me how to use a pitch pipe and get the strings tuned to pitch and all that. But as far as technique or anything, I didn't have anything to go by. So eventually I started playing electric guitar. Like a year after that, I got a electric guitar for Christmas in 8th grade, I think. And I started playing the electric guitar. And then it wasn't until I was in 11th grade that Dr. Tim Christ came to Paragould High School with a few of his students in the classical guitar ensemble that he had just created. And a couple of them were friends of mine. I decided I guess I need to get this classical guitar back out and figure out what's going on. He kind of sold it to me by saying, hey man, you can get better at the electric guitar if you practice the classical guitar with these exercises and do this stuff. So I just told myself, hey, I'll just keep playing the classical guitar as long as it helps my electric guitar playing, and that's kind of the deal I made with myself. So I first started studying the classical guitar with him. I learned a lot of left-hand exercises. But I'm going to be honest, the thing that made me kind of go over the top with classical guitar and become a classical guitar player was learning how to use the right hand. The first thing that I learned in lessons with Dr. Chris on the right hand was a thing called the rest stroke. Now, I'd been playing bass in the jazz band for a while, so I kind of already instinctually knew the rest stroke because I was just doing it anyhow, playing the bass. And the rest stroke is when you take a finger and you go straight through a string and let it rest on the string that's above it. So there, the index finger's going through the E string and resting on the B string. And basically, I was kind of trained to play just, with the rest stroke and developing my position on the instrument for a good while. The biggest point of advice that I got was out of a book by Aaron Shearer, Intro Classical Guitar Method book. And it said to make sure on the rest stroke as a beginner that your tip knuckle right here bends backwards as you go through the string, and that keeps your finger relaxed, and it also ensures that you're engaging this primary knuckle to move through the string. It's important that you engage the primary knuckle because it's the biggest lever and it gives you the most energy. So basically I just trained, index and middle finger, not much of the ring finger yet, but I trained index and middle finger, playing rest strokes, pretty much down the natural scale with the notes that are all naturals on the guitar for a while. Had a couple pieces that had, some scales in them or something like that. But it was really important because what it does is the rest stroke has this uncanny ability to sound better than any other thing that you can do on the classical guitar. If you want to play one note just with the best sound that you possibly can, I'll always reach for the rest stroke. So what that did more than anything, it developed the beginning of my technique, making sure that I was engaging the right lever, the big knuckle. And also, more importantly, I think, it gave me an ear for what a good tone is. And that, to me, is the big thing. At first, I didn't play with any nails on my right hand. I was too busy trying to play electric guitar and doing the tapping thing, which I still do. because my nails are pretty short. I keep my nails pretty much as short as you can keep your nails and still play the classical guitar respectively. I basically used like different grades of sandpaper at first to file my nails and get them really smooth. So we're talking like, a 500, 400 grade grit, all the way up to like 1,000 stuff you would polish glass with. And it worked pretty good for a while, but honestly, eventually I went to these Target 7-way nail buffers. And honestly, I think they give me the best sound. But we had these great Guitar Foundation of America winners would come in every year and play these amazing concerts, and they just sounded so incredible. And I used to think at first, oh, it must be just their guitars, just so, superior to mine, these $8,000 instruments. Well, it turns out they could pick up anyone's guitar and sound just as good. So I knew there was something that I just didn't have. I think the first player that showed me was Thomas Viatot. And he played in such a way in the master class that he really gave me some straight answers on some things. And here's the thing with classical guitar on the right hand. For every professional player, there's that many ways to do it and do it good. They all do it different. But the trick is to keep, taking advice until you find somebody who plays a lot like you. And when you see how they make it work, it's really easy for you to make it work. So Thomas played a whole lot positionally, his technique, his approach, the way he, his hands and arms and falls, and also, interestingly enough, he's about my same size. So maybe there's something to that. And, our hands are similar. And so everything that he showed me made a whole lot of sense. And the biggest thing I learned from Thomas was this, is you have two sides of the nail. He called this side the playing side. And what he meant by that is you want the string to hit the playing side of the nail and then slide off. I used to kind of play like this with the Segovia kind of hand position where my wrist was kind of down a little bit. And it kind of gave me this sound. It's a brighter sound. Projects pretty well, but it doesn't have as much boom or depth as this sound. Now notice I didn't change where I'm playing the guitar. I changed the angle of my wrist a little bit. So now I'm using more of the playing side of the hand. So instead of hitting the nail like directly in the middle with the bent wrist, when I straighten it out, I'm hitting the nail like this. And it's almost like when I go through the string, if I were to exaggerate the motion, the finger is moving like towards the bridge. It's a bizarre thing. But it's just the finger. It's not the whole hand. I'm just exaggerating. But it moves in that angle. It's a really deep sound. A little thuddy sound. These dead strings that need to be changed. As opposed to, so then a lot of things started to click for me. And he showed me an exercise to start working on the free stroke, getting as good as a rest stroke. So he said, first what you have to do is you have to play a rest stroke with like index and middle finger on the high E string. Then the next thing, he said, put your thumb on the B string and just bring your finger to the thumb. That way you're not making really a rest stroke. You're making like bring your finger to your thumb stroke, whatever you're gonna call that. And he said the goal here is to get that stroke to sound just as good as a rest stroke. It's hard. It's hard to do because you may hit, another string. Then as you get better, move your thumb further away from the E string. Try to keep the depth and the warmth and the power as much as you can of the rest stroke. You'll never be able to quite get there, but you can get really close. Now, the other thing that I learned from Thomas is when he plays the scales, he moves his thumb to that adjacent string that's next to his fingers. So for instance, if he were to play like a scale pattern that's like this, I don't know, I'll play like an A minor scale right here. Notice my thumb on my right hand jumps to a new string every time it moves. So that's another thing that he showed me. Now the last thing I learned from him was when you move from the G string to a wound string like the D string, you have to do something with that wrist angle. You have to kind of go back to the Segovia bent wrist and play with the middle of the nail again. Because if you don't, you get this sound. Because you're coming in at that angle with a playing side, it'll scrape against the nail. It's bad for your nail, and it doesn't sound good at all. And getting that transition is the last thing I learned from him. How to move from a treble string to a bass string with an even sound and change the position of the hand. A guy that would get had in, Jeremy Juve, came back with another player and played duets. And Jeremy, this time I learned a whole lot more from him because I could ask him better questions. Jeremy plays 3-note per string scales like on an electric guitar, you know. But he also plays them with 3 fingers in the right hand. So he plays A, M, I, A, M, I. So I got that down and worked on that. That helped a lot. And so then I just started thinking in my head, okay, what if you just went through every combination of 2 fingers, 3 fingers, and practice your scales, 3 notes per string like that? So first, you know, I'd go like I and M. I would play each note 3 times. Listen for the consistency, you know. So when I and M would sound good, I switch to like I and A. That would sound good to go to like M and A. I would try to get each combination to sound as good as the previous one. I go to P and a finger. That was kind of hard. P and another finger. So this is just 2 fingers at a time. Then I started doing 3 finger combinations. Different rotations of those. I just exhausted all those combinations. And eventually my right hand technique got really good doing that. I mean, just super quick. And another thing that I picked up along the way was practicing with muted strings. Ronald Radford, of all people, showed me this. I was a flamenco player, American flamenco player. So if you practice your arpeggios and your right hand exercises with muted strings, so like if I had this exercise, let's say I was going to play something like that, just practicing on muted strings. You can hear a lot of information and learn a lot just from the muted string. And then the last thing about the right hand, I guess that I can think that I learned really well, was learning to adjust the volume of individual notes. I can play this chord, or I'll do an arpeggio first. So let's say I want to play this arpeggio, the same one. I accent the bass note, it gives it a certain sound. Accent the G string, gives a different sound. The B string, the E string. Then I'll learn how to do that playing them as block chords. So you want to accent the high E, accent the B string, accent the G. Thumb. Can you keep them even? So yeah, that was a thing that I learned kind of near the end, I think, when I got in graduate school. I finally learned how to control that. There you go. Post some comments or questions and I'll follow them up next time. Thanks for tuning in.